probably the most classic game ever. The game where you buy and trade properties, avoid bankruptcy, and try to monopolize the market. It is the game of Monopoly. In today's video, we are going to go through how to play Monopoly, including the setup, how to win, gameplay, rules, and stay to the very end because we've got some house rules that are just make Monopoly way fun, so stay tuned. Setup is relatively easy. Just take everything out of the box, essentially. Except for when you're giving money to everybody. So you've got your board laid out, then place the chance cards and chest cards to their allotted places, and then the market is overflowing with houses. Every player is going to choose a character, and depending on the Monopoly set you have, these might vary slightly. My favorite has always been the hat. I like wearing it on my pinky. And everyone will place their characters on the go. So let's just place a couple for examples. There we go. Now that you have the board set up and money organized, let's go ahead and give everyone their starting paycheck. So each player gets $1,500, which you get two $500, two $100, two $50s, six $20s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 $10s, 5 $5s, 5 $1s. Each player can do what they wish with this money. I usually keep it in a stack so people don't know how much I have, but for this video, I'll lay it out so it's a little bit easier for you to see everything that's in play. Okay, then you're going to decide who's going to be the banker, and that's the person that's going to manage the money, the houses, and the property. They don't have any special powers or any special authority, except they get to go first. How to win Monopoly is you have to outlast all the other players. All the other players are going to be bankrupt, and you're going to be the one with all of the money. Gameplay is relatively easy. On your turn, take the dice and roll it. Then whatever you have, 4 and 3 equals 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You go to the space that you play. Now, if you land on a chance, you take a chance card. Chance, advance to the nearest railroad. If unowned, you may buy from the bank. If owned, pay owner twice the rental in which they are otherwise entitled. So you do whatever the chance card says. In this case, it says go to the nearest railroad. And you don't go backwards, so you're always going to go forward, and that would be the Pennsylvania Railroad, even though this one's closer. This one's closest as in next on the turn. No one owns it, so I can buy it if I want, and depending on the strategy you like to play, I have a different video for that, so check that out. I won't go into it in this video. Now, let's say though you roll another dice and this is a 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's an in jail, and to get in jail, we'll go over in a moment. But when you're just passing through, you're just visiting. Vermont Avenue. If you land on a property that is not owned, you can purchase it for the number allotted. In this case, it says 100 down here. Or if you don't want to buy it, the bank can put it up for auction. Someone starts the bid. For example, the hat may start, oh, I'll pay 20 for it, and it goes on until someone purchases Vermont, at which point the bank goes through the properties, finds the Vermont, and gives it to whoever the player is that uses it. And these property types do need to remain visible and where the gameplay is. If someone owns Vermont and you land on Vermont, that person can charge you rent, and that means that you have to pay them. For example, rent $6, so you'd have to pay the owner of that property $6. If they have the entire set, meaning they own all 3 of these blue, you'd have to pay $12. And if they have a house, 30, 2 houses, 90, and it goes all the way up to hotels for $5.50. Now, what if you get doubles? A fun thing about Monopoly is if you get doubles, you get to go a second time. But what if you get doubles again? That's okay. But what if you get doubles for a third time? Well, if you get doubles 3 times, then you have to go to jail. As you're playing, once you go around, because you keep on rolling your dice and you keep going around, as you pass go or land on go, you can read this. It says collect $200 salary. So every time you pass go, you get an extra $200. So this is something that you want to pass. Other pieces on the board include this luxury tax, for example, pay $100. This one, income tax, pay $200. I, for some reason, land on both of these pretty frequently. The chance cards are usually negative and positive. Chance, advance to Illinois Avenue. If you pass go, collect $200. Hopefully no one's on it, but if someone is on it, which seems to be very frequent when I get this card, then you have to pay rent. But if they're not, you can also purchase the property. So it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. And there's a bunch of different cards in here that give you different things. For example, advance to the nearest utility. If unowned, you may buy it from the bank. If owned, throw dice and pay the owner 10 times the amount thrown. So chance, I think, is a great name for it because it really is positive or negative. Community chest, you have a bunch of different ones. Community chest, income tax refund, collect $200. Sometimes even on here, I think you even get like holiday fund matures, receive $100. So there's a bunch of different cards that you can get for that one. As for the rest of the pieces on the board, they are properties and go by the rules of the properties mentioned earlier. Building houses. So as you can see from rent, it would be more valuable if you had a house on it. For someone to land on it, they'd be paying you $30 instead of $6. Well, before you can build a house, you have to own all of the properties in that color. See, some properties have 3 of that color, some have 2. And with the railroads, you've got 4. But once you have possession of and you've been able to purchase either landing on them or from other players, you can buy a house. So on the card, it tells you how much a house costs. And each property is slightly different. This one, a house costs $50. So all you'd have to do is pay the bank $50 and you can place a house on Vermont. Then the next time someone comes around, if they land on Vermont, they have to pay you $30. If you want to get a hotel, you first have to purchase 4 houses. Once you have 4 houses on that property, you can replace them with a hotel. This one says $50 plus 4 houses, which was what I just barely showed you. Now let's talk about selling properties. You can sell properties to other players in the game, and that's really common if they have 2 of one property and you have the 3rd. They may buy that property from you. To do that though, you have to sell back the hotels to the bank, and the bank can take your house back for half of the amount that you paid. So for example, this hotel cost me $50. They can buy it back for $25. And then once that is complete, you can sell that property to another player. Mortgages. If you're running low on money and you don't want to sell your property to another player, you may want to mortgage, which to do this action, you flip over the card and mortgage value $50, so you can get $50 from the bank. However, if you want to build houses on this, you can't unless you unmortgage it, which is to unmortgage, pay $55. And each property is slightly different costs, but it is clearly written on here. Say you want to build a house though, you have to pay the $55 to unmortgage it, and then it's flipped over, so now you can purchase houses. You have to pay another $50 for that house. Let's say you have this house, Vermont Avenue right here, is mortgaged and someone lands on it. Well, nothing happens, you can't gather rent from mortgaged houses. Remember when I was talking about jail with going to jail after 3 times? Let's talk about jail. So you can get into jail by rolling 3 times or by landing on this piece that says go to jail, at which point you have to go directly to the jail and you can't pass go. While you're in jail though, you can still sell properties, gather rent, buy houses, hotels, mortgage if you need to. So you can do all the actions except move while you're in jail. Getting out of jail, however, each turn you're going to roll, and if you roll a doubles, then you can get out of jail. And from that point, if you get doubles, then you just re-roll 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say, however, you aren't able to roll doubles. Within 3 turns, you will need to pay a $50 fine to get out of jail. One other way is there are some cards in the community chest that are get out of jail cards. Community chest, get out of jail free. This card may be kept until needed, so you just keep it with your stuff. And then if you do land in jail, you can use this to get out of jail just by placing it back in the pile. And you can then you roll and you're able to get out of jail without paying the $50 fine. Now remember I said the way that you win this game is by being the last one that's not bankrupt? Well, let's talk about bankruptcy. So it's oftentimes you'll be building houses on things and you'll run out of money. Before you can go bankrupt, you have to sell back all of your houses and keep playing until you run out of money again. And then you can mortgage homes, you can sell your property to other players, but until you run out of money, you're still in the game. If you do have all of your properties mortgaged and you go bankrupt, you aren't able to sell properties to other players while they're mortgaged, so you'd have to have them unmortgaged before you can do so. Unfortunately, players can't pay for your mortgage. You have to pay for that yourself. So that one's pretty difficult. But if you do have them mortgaged and you go bankrupt, you have to return your properties to the bank. And no one gets those unless they have the chance to land on them in the future. So altogether, you have to be completely clear of money, no money whatsoever, no properties, no houses, anything. And then you are bankrupt. So the end game is when the second to last person goes bankrupt and there's only one person remaining at the table that is not bankrupt. And they win. That's it. There's no end move or anything like that. Additional rules that can be tricky is if there are no houses to sell, you can't buy any houses. So if all of these are out on properties, and you aren't able to buy any more houses until someone is able to return them either by selling them back to the bank or trading them in for a hotel. If there are multiple players that want to buy a house but a limited amount, for example, there's only one house left and 2 players want to buy that house, instead of purchasing them, you actually do an auction. So a house that could have been $50 is auctioned off for $150, for example. Loans and mortgages can only be done by the bank. So if you remember right, I mentioned how if you have a mortgage, you have to be able to pay for it on your own to unmortgage it. Another player can't pay you or help you with that. And that's throughout the game. You can't get a loan aka mortgage, from anyone but the bank. And let's talk about a house rule. And this house rule I thought for years was part of the rules, and it wasn't until recent that I learned instead of paying the bank and putting your money in the bank when you are purchasing houses or purchasing properties, you put the money instead in the middle. And then if someone lands on this free parking space, they get all of the money that's in the middle. This is a fun rule that really, it makes the game last longer, which is a good and bad thing. But it's like winning the lottery. It's really fun when you feel so broke and then you just pick up 10 grand on this Monopoly, which I think the most I've gotten with this house rule is probably like 3,000 or something like that. So you can get a substantial amount, and that can help you buy houses on all of your property. So it's a fun house rule that I would definitely recommend implementing at your house. I hope this video was helpful, and if it was, please give us a thumbs up. If you have recommendations or fun house rules that you enjoy while playing Monopoly, go ahead and give us that information in the comments below. I'd love to see it. I know everyone else in the community would love to see it as well. And check out my channel for other videos like how to play games, strategies, and reviews. It's really fun. I think you'll enjoy it. Again, thank you so much for watching this video, and enjoy playing Monopoly.